Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorry I Like This podcast. I'm Ezra, and today I'm joined, as always, by Caleb. Caleb, how you doing?
Twas the night before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Caleb is losing his mind. Okay,
Yeah,
he is he's. I've waited 4 years um, for this next installment, and you know it's been nice because I've had a distraction. But today, I do not have that distraction, and
yeah,
all I keep thinking about is I am mere hours away from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that, let me tell you, is going to be special. And I cannot wait to talk about it on this podcast. But that's not what we're here about. This is
yep,
Twas the night before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the reason why we were off for a while is because we were prepping for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We were not sleeping. We were doing our homework.
we were playing
So,
video games.
yeah. So we got quite a packed show today, and yeah, I can't wait
Yeah,
to talk about them all.
yeah, we got lots to talk about. Got lots of games to talk about. We got lots of news to talk about. I think last time we alluded to the idea that maybe it would be a slow news segment next week. Maybe we wouldn't have a
Yeah,
lot to talk about. We were wrong. Um, that was in part due to a delay that we suffered on our end,
yeah,
uh, but also the
but I
games
think it's worth it
industry.
in the podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like we delayed it, but it was worth it to the podcast. Of like,
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
a reason. Like we'll explain what that reason is a little later in the podcast. But
Yeah.
you
We
know,
we
it
had
was.
good
I think it's
reason to
worth it.
delay. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. But also the games industry just kind of decided to explode over the past month or so. So
yeah.
we're definitely going to be talking about that. Um, so yeah, I mean, let's just get into it. We've got a lot of layoffs happening across the industry, be it Microsoft announced 900 employees are getting laid off, and that was maybe a bit more justifiable given the recent Activision acquisition. Um,
Hmm.
just you kind of have to assume that there are going to be some redundancies, and both of them are huge companies. But then PlayStation, just 2 days ago, as of recording this, announced they're they're laying off 900 of their game studios
Yeah.
employees, and including Insomniac, including Naughty Dog. Um, and I it's gotten to the point where I can't name which publisher has laid off how many employees, right? Like EA just announced hours before we started that they're laying off.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
EA did?
EA did. EA
Oh my
announced
gosh,
that.
this is breaking news to me.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when I work late and I don't have time to look at my phone. So, oh man.
Yeah, EA did. I mean, literally everywhere has announced layoffs of some kind. And
Wow.
it's all devastating. I mean, and there's a lot of talk about like, oh, the games industry is becoming unsustainable and yada yada. To me, it's just the American AAA industry has become unsustainable. um, and
Yeah.
because Nintendo hasn't laid anybody off, right? Square Enix sold off, maybe because of this sort of coming storm. Square Enix sold
Hmm.
off most of their
Yeah.
Western
I,
studios.
yeah.
Um, so to me, it's like like this is all happening in the face of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is literally one of the biggest games to ever come out, right? Like
Hmm.
in terms of size and scale, like there aren't a lot of games that purport to be as big as that game is. Um, and that's a full-fledged JRPG, super high production value. Um, and like I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because to me, it's just like I can't. It's hard for me to have sympathy for the companies. I'd rather have sympathy for the workers.
Hmm.
But
I think some of this. So I'm a I'm a kind of echo a lot of what you said, but I think unfortunately some of this was to be expected. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
if we're looking into especially Xbox and with the Activision layoffs and and uh, Blizzard as well. Like honestly, here's the thing with that. Is it is very unfortunate, and you know I would never want anyone to lose their job.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, and I think we talked about a little bit on this the podcast the last time, if I'm not mistaken, or this happened right afterwards, and you and I were talking about it.
yeah,
Um, at the same time, the stuff that was going on in Activision and Blizzard was not working.
yeah,
Yeah, were they? Yeah, are they one of the biggest successful uh, developer uh, like publishers out there right now? Absolutely.
mm-hmm.
But there comes to a point where behind the scenes trouble was going. There's several issues with both Activision and Blizzard, and then there's also on top of like the quantity over any form of quality um, for their games was really apparent. I say, and I've always said it, but like I feel like this past 2 years, especially with the launch of Overwatch 2 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3,
Absolutely.
specifically, um, are big examples of those two games. I know it's like they've done other stuff, but like biggest that's their biggest franchises right now, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
something's not working, and a if you're a bigger company and you're acquiring this this golden goose of video games,
yeah.
right? You know, and things are going wrong. That's unfortunately how acquisitions go sometimes. A bigger company takes a smaller company in hopes to revitalize it, to transform it. So unfortunately, layoffs inherently happen,
Yeah. For
and it's
Xbox,
bad
it's
to say.
yeah. For Xbox, it's a little understandable, right? Like
Exactly, and
it's
that's
yeah,
specifically what I wanted to specifically specify before we got into the other ones, because like that one to me made more sense. It still sucks, especially with the way the video game industry's going right now,
yeah,
and it's just like a domino effect. Um, Whereas with Sony, and I know I'm talking about the big two right now, but with Sony, this just it doesn't make much sense to me. I don't get why
yeah,
we're cutting a whole division in the company. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get, and I don't know if you saw. And granted, this is just taking out of context, but it looks bad in a public eye. Jim Ryan having a going away party in the
yeah,
London division, and then 3 days later he lays them all off. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I
Like
heard about that.
it's a real bad taste in the mouth there, and
Yeah,
I've never been a big Jim Ryan fan, but like that one was one of those type of situations where I was like, I'm excited for someone new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the but it's sad to see. You know, I don't get why you have these, and I get games are becoming more expensive to produce, especially with the, like you
Hmm.
said, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's such high production quality and standards that we, as an audience and critically, put on these games, while also trying to keep it affordable to the general consumer.
Yeah.
But the it comes a line in which, especially with how successful a lot of these studios are, like Insomniac, Naughty Dog, they all they do is produce bangers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All they do is they just knock it out of the park, and you know you have all these teams, and you wonder to yourself, why cut the why why cut what makes you you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I get layoffs. They the thing is, we can't understand because we're just a consumer. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We don't see the numbers on a daily basis, or
Yeah.
even go into the decision as to why uh, a business may lay off. But at the same time, these are jobs and lives at stake, and
Well, I agree. I agree with that. I think the other piece of the pie too is, at least to me, because we could rattle off company after company that has laid off hundreds of employees, and you kind
yeah,
of just wonder to yourself, like, okay, there was a time when Nintendo was really facing hardship during the Wii U era,
mm-hmm.
but instead of cutting all of their workers, Satoru Iwata took a 50% pay cut, right?
Right,
And I mean, he will always be a legendary figure, right? I don't think there's any
mm-hmm.
doubt about that. But there's also an element where it's like, I find it hard to believe that Satoru Iwata is paid more than Phil Spencer, or was paid more than
Mm-hmm.
Phil Spencer, right? Like, I find it hard to believe he was paid more than Jim Ryan, right? And Jim Ryan is going to see a handsome amount of money after leaving
Mm-hmm.
Sony, right? So like there's a level where it's like, okay, you kind of want to, at least my brain kind of wants to say, okay, they were the leaders, so they get a big check. But at the same time, part of me is like, how much are you spending on these CEOs who are demanding so much of your money?
Right, yeah,
But then the people on the ground who actually make the products that you're selling are the ones who end up suffering almost because of that cost and expense. And I'm not going to say that the Western industry is. I'm not going to say that it's like all the company's fault, because a lot of it is market conditions. Um,
mm-hmm.
but it does also leave a really bad taste in my mouth, like you said. Like, it's not, as somebody who is vehemently pro worker, I find it really hard to be at all sympathetic to stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, on Sony's side, I'm actually more critical, because it there's no excuse for launching Spider-Man 2, which was one of the fastest selling PlayStation exclusives of all time, and
Yeah,
then doing job cuts at the studio that made it, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So Naughty Dog, I could kind of see, because they haven't had a super great go of it these past few years. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. It's hard, and again, it doesn't seem like it's going to be getting any better, and that's what sucks. Um, so I guess like the last word I'll say is like kudos to a lot of these, a lot of the like more traditional Japanese companies, right? Like
Hmm.
Square Enix, like Nintendo, because as much as Square Enix, you might give them a little bit of side eye for selling off their Western studios. At least they're still churn. I mean, they're really churning out games at this point, right? Like
Hmm.
they're like they've got. I mean, just in the last 2 years, we've had
Yeah.
uh, we've had uh, Forspoken, FF16. Now we're getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We got Visions of Mana on the way, and then
Hmm.
and that's just like the big stuff. Forget about the little things,
Right.
um, and Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo has continued to release banger after banger at a steady pace at that. So it's hard
Yeah.
to I don't want to make it a console warrior thing, but I do think there's something to be said for this being cultural in some way. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about the layoffs, but we can.
I It just sucks, and it's sad to see all these companies following suit. And you know, it, it almost makes you wonder what the panic is, and
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because it's all around. See, clearly, the studios know something that we as a general audience don't.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Um,
Are we in for a pre Nintendo style video game crash? Right, like because that's
right.
been something that's been floated. And I'm not sure if it's really possible, but because if nothing else, Nintendo stays on the market. But
Yeah.
yeah, it does just kind of suck. Um, so, but thankfully, that's kind of the only bad thing on this list of news that we have. I
Yeah.
guess if
I think so.
if you're an Xbox fanboy, I guess the next one might be kind of a bad thing to you, but
Hmm.
I don't know. The news on that one is Xbox is pivoting to a more multi-platform approach to their releases. And the first of these two will be Hi-Fi Rush is coming to PlayStation 5 in March. Uh, I think early March, mid March, something like that.
I think it was mid March, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, it's like the 19th or something. Um, so Caleb, now you have a chance to play it. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
This is great for me, but
yeah.
yeah.
And then Pentiment, which is a really small. It's by the Outer Worlds devs, but pretty small game. That's coming to Nintendo Switch. I think also in March, but I could be wrong about that. I don't remember. That was shown off during the partner showcase they had last week as of recording this. So yeah, I mean, Caleb, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think this
Yeah,
is something that both companies should do. To be honest with you, all of them should do. I think exclusivity doesn't have to be permanent.
yeah, I
You
agree.
know what I'm saying? You can make so much more money having games release, say, 1 to 2 years from its initial release on a different platform,
Yeah.
right?
Word of mouth
And
is
I
already
think,
spread at that point.
and on top of that, you know what's working, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you only sell the stuff that's successful.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. You know what I'm saying? I think I think it's a smart business approach. I know this, a lot of people were worried, like, oh, it's the end of Xbox, because pre the announcement and everything. But I think, uh, I think it's a great business strategy, and I think Sony should take notes. And well, Nintendo's wishful thinking, but I think
Yeah.
Sony absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I mean this has been I think we're starting to move towards that future of no console exclusives. Where consoles are more like Blu-ray players than they are uh,
Yeah,
video game devices, right? And I agree. I think that's a good thing. I think sectioning off audiences is not a great thing for the industry. Um,
yeah,
it will be interesting to see how Microsoft kind of approaches this. Are they going to launch something big on PlayStation? Are they going to just keep it to their smaller titles, right? And it's weird to call Hi-Fi Rush a smaller title because it's definitely like
right.
it's a whole game, right? Like it's not. I don't think it's really that. I don't think it's really there, right? It's just not. It's just not a giant IP.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's maybe besides the point. I do think it's interesting that Microsoft is doing this and Sony is definitely. I mean, Sony's been releasing some of their games on PC for a while now, so it's not unheard of for Sony to do something like this as well.
Yeah.
I think it's part of it is what are the smaller games that Sony releases, because
Right.
I don't think they really have. Sony doesn't have a Hi-Fi Rush, right? They don't have a Pentiment.
Well, they kind of do, right? It's not the same style, but it is a smaller game that is taking off right now. And we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I think
Yeah.
Helldivers 2 is a great example of that.
Well, and that launched
That could be
PlayStation
transferred
and
over.
PC day in day
Yeah.
of. So I agree. I think and there's a part of me that wonders like, okay, Helldivers 2 is one of them, but then like because Microsoft, those two games are single player offerings, right?
Right.
And the rumors are Sea of Thieves and another game. I'm forgetting which game.
Was it Indiana Jones that was being rumored?
Indiana Jones was floating around, but I don't think that's one of them. There was another multiplayer one that was being floated around. I don't remember what it was, but in any case, I can see Helldivers 2 being a perfect fit for Xbox, and Phil Spencer has said as much, actually. But
Yeah.
I struggle because it's like Helldivers 2 doesn't strike me as like a as particularly one-to-one with something like a Hi-Fi Rush, where that game feels very much like a core video game, whereas
Mm-hmm.
Helldivers 2 feels a little bit more mass market. And that's not to make evaluation on either of them. It just seems like that's what they're going for. So I do want. I think you're right. I think Helldivers 2 is a good example of a game that could go multi-plat, but at the same time, I wonder, is that the level of game Sony wants to have multi-plat?
Maybe, maybe this is the great opportunity to bring back dead franchises. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, exactly.
Like
Uh,
PS2 franchises that never got remastered, and just do a remaster for PlayStation, but
yeah,
also have it multi-plat. Because again, just like I was saying with the idea of like limited exclusivity, it puts in a business model of like what's successful.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and a lot of those PS2 franchises would be cheaper to make now than some of the big budget stuff that they make currently, right? And that's ultimately right. Like just going back to the layoffs thing for a brief moment, right? If
Mm-hmm.
anything good comes out of this, costs are gonna get cut, not in the sense of workers, but in the sense of what kinds of games get greenlit, and
Mm-hmm.
one of those is a reduction in live service games because companies I
Yeah.
think are finally starting to realize that those are basically nothing more than short-term gains but then long-term losses,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily even term games, right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard
I
to.
mean, when a live service game goes bad, it crashes and burns
Yeah,
heavily.
it's not
Like,
pretty.
what I mean? There's no middle ground with the live service. It either is a good live service like Helldivers 2, or it's Avengers.
Yeah, or Suicide Squad more recently.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
you don't get one or the other. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Uh,
One, and I think the
I've
other.
never heard I've never heard someone go out. You know, this live service game, it's pretty meh, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah.
I I don't hear that. You
I
know what I
said
mean?
that.
It's
I
either
said
good
that
or bad.
about. I think I said that about Babylon's Fall, but
Oh,
then I played that
but you
for
were
maybe like I was coping on that game. I was coping pretty hard when I was playing that game.
yeah,
Uh,
but I also think that game didn't even last 6 months. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
So
That's
it's like,
true. Yeah, I one and I think the other thing to acknowledge too is like even if they are successful in the short term, you've got to be like
mhm,
really successful to keep going, right?
yeah,
Like we're starting to see Bungie fall under the weight of its
exactly.
and if
Brain,
Bungie
yeah.
it can't do it, then like who can be expected to? So, you know, is that
Bungie for the past 10 years is like the blueprint for live service.
yeah.
And then, what I mean,
No, exactly. Yeah,
there's
I
ups and
agree.
downs. There was growing pains, and they're in a struggle too.
Yeah. So it's
But
it's yeah, yeah. Hopefully all of this and all of this sort of results in smaller games, more reasonable games. um right, cuz like it's weird cuz just a couple of months ago Sega was talking about how Sonic of all franchises, how Sonic
mm,
was responsible for them being able to revive all of these dead franchises. And
mm,
it's just a weird time where it feels like the Western industry like overspent almost and is trying to like cut back on their
Mm-hmm.
spending, whereas like it feels like the Japanese studios are like they're going all in.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's not even just the Japanese studios, right? Like Larian hasn't laid off people because of Baldur's Gate, right? Like
Yeah.
they had a tumultuous development cycle. Like it's not like there weren't pains there, but um yeah, I hope, you know, I genuinely hope we start to see some of that. Like we can scale it back a little bit. It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest every single time, right? So yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say about Xbox going multi-plat?
No, I think that pretty much
Okay.
sums it up. I'm excited. I think it's going to be exciting to see where they go with it,
Yeah.
because I I guess this is the last thing I'll say. The like look at Minecraft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I mean, it is the biggest game of all time, uh, for a reason, and it was big before it went multi-plat. But that is an example of where Xbox is cashing in a lot with Minecraft, right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Being on the other platforms, and the Sony and Nintendo knows it. But hey, it gives them a revenue too.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like I think it's a situation where everyone wins.
Yeah.
Personally, um,
Including the consumer.
e- exactly, and yeah,
Yeah.
I think I like competition. I think that drives quality. Competition drives quality,
Yeah.
but the but doing it in a limited sense, I think that's the best way you even go about that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Timed
That's
exclusives have
that's a larger
never.
discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like your idea. Like timed exclusives are. I think timed exclusives are definitely what we're going to see in the immediate future. But then, like,
Hmm.
as time goes on, we might see more like day and date multi-platform stuff. Um,
Right.
but we'll see. We'll see. None of this is set in stone, and Xbox has been very clear that this is definitely an experiment, right? So
Mm,
don't expect Fable to be multi-platform, right?
man, I was hoping ES6, Elder Scrolls 6 would be multi-platform.
Maybe, maybe.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm not holding my hopes up. That's going to be the day. The day that trailer finally drops. That's the day I go out and buy an Xbox.
Aw, they'll get you there.
They'll get me there. Yeah, and watch. It'll be finally this summer when they finally do it for me.
It'll be this summer. Yeah. Well, speaking of this summer, um, we got we finally got a release date and a trailer for Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC, which I have been and a lot of people have been anticipating for a long time. So June 21st is the release date. And yeah, looks good. Caleb, I don't know if you watched the trailer or not, but I like the trailer a lot.
I I have not. The uh sorry if you heard a cat noise in the background. That was me pulling up the wrong app, and I pulled up TikTok instead of Discord.
Ah.
um, so that was a mistake. Anyways, the so as far as the trailer goes, I have not watched it. I will say it's good to see,
Yeah.
um, because it was kind of a little bit in a limbo, like of when this thing was actually going to come out.
Yeah.
And I haven't played those games, but I also understand an excitement for a DLC, especially when it is a game that a lot of people love and a lot of people dedicate their time to.
Yeah.
If I was in, if I have played this game, I absolutely would be losing my mind with excitement right now. Um, it is kind of weird the timing of it. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't showcased in anything, was it?
No,
I don't
Bandai
think it
Namco
was.
just did a trailer. Like they did a YouTube premiere for the trailer. Um,
Which I'm like, yeah, it does get people's attention and everything, but a state of play was only two
yeah.
weeks prior,
Yeah. I think
or Xbox Showcase was 3 weeks prior. Like the big three had their showcases.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Part of
saying?
me
Um,
part of me has to wonder if they only recently finalized the release date
uh,
and were like, okay, well, we're kind of the schedule doesn't line up for us to show this off at anything. So
right.
we'll just show it so we can get our marketing going, cuz marketing is such a big part of this release. Like cuz the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC is certainly going to be running for like going to be in contention for like some of the game of the year conversations the way that like Phantom Liberty was last year.
Mm-hmm.
um and we'll see if it's really that good. But speaking of expansions to games I love, um at the Nintendo Partner Direct, probably the biggest announcement that they had was for Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the worst part about this is this game comes out June 21st, 2024, the same day as the Elden Ring DLC. So
Oh,
I'm getting demolished once again. I'm
yeah.
getting just destroyed this year. I It's funny because a lot of people are regarding 2024 as like a little bit of an off year compared to 2023, and
Uh huh.
I'm just feasting. I've got
Yeah, you're getting a whole Thanksgiving right now.
I'm getting games coming out of the wazoo. I got no time. So yeah, I mean, not much else to say about Vengeance other than it is going to be literally a whole like they added another 80-hour campaign onto it, so that's cool. I guess there are two campaigns
Hmm.
uh in the game, and it's coming to it's getting released on everything. So if you want to play Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I would regard as one of the most playable RPGs of the generation, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. One of the most fun RPGs to play ever. I would highly recommend this re-release because it looks like they're adding a bunch of stuff to it as well. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
yeah,
Like, it's it's awesome for me because well, I'd probably still play it on the Switch, to be honest. Um,
the one thing I will say is the Switch version, the current Switch version, doesn't run super well.
mm,
Like it's an RPG, so
yeah,
it's not like held back so much by it, but I'm really looking forward to that like clean FPS
yeah.
looks as good as it can kind of thing. So yeah. I'm cuz I've got Stellar Blade at end of April,
Mm. Oh,
and
jeez, I forgot
then
about that game.
I don't remember if May has anything for me or not. I don't think so. But then I've got Elden Ring DLC and Shin Megami Tensei 5 right up against each other. And then in July or August, Trails Through Daybreak comes out.
Okay.
And then in fall, Metaphor comes out. And somewhere in there, Sonic Shadow Generations is coming out.
Yep.
And
And
then
then somewhere in there, Kingdom Hearts 4.
and then 2 years later, Kingdom Hearts 4. No,
What? No.
no,
No.
no way, no way, no. That's not happening.
Oh my gosh.
I will say
I can't think about it. I can't think about it that way.
yeah, no, you can't think about it that way.
Oh,
I don't think. Listen, if you think of it as 2 years from now, it's actually not that far away. Because January 2026 doesn't feel that far away. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm so, I'm having a great year. But mostly because of lots of JRPGs.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like I've had I've had a great 2 years. I my feast was kind of over time, and this is kind of like, it's interesting because like FF7 Rebirth is kind of like the last of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of this stuff that I've got on my plate, which on one hand it's exciting because it gets me into the backlog that we're able to dive into.
Yeah.
But like to do SMT5 and Xenoblade and stuff like that. I definitely understand the feeling. Fall of 2022 was a rough, a rough slate of releases there. Like, I mean, I had pre-orders. Like, I had stuff coming out. So for about a month straight, there was like stuff coming out like once or twice. Like, it wasn't even almost weekly. It was like almost twice a week, or you know what I'm saying? It was just like, oh my gosh, But and then, my big games really came out this past year with FF16, and Spider-Man 2, and now FF7 Rebirth. So, you know what I'm saying? I've been feeling the feast, but I understand like just getting loaded like that.
Yeah. And, the problem for me is they keep all coming out like within 24 hours of each other.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad I haven't had that much of a situation before.
Yeah. Like, realistically, I think my plan is to probably play Shin Megami Tensei 5 and then Elden Ring, because Elden Ring I'll probably be looking at a bunch of guides for, whereas Shin Megami Tensei 5, I'm like, I'm good at that game, so I don't need to worry about it too much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I do wish, like, even if it was just a week, right? That's enough time for me to beat one of those two things. So yeah. Next thing on our list, this is, they just had a Pokemon Presents for Pokemon Day yesterday, and the big announcement was their next game is coming out next year, which is awesome news because they're finally doing the Assassin's Creed and skipping a year. So we'll see if that pays off.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of my thoughts on it. Like,
Yeah.
I think, and it's not just Assassin's Creed. It's like that with Call of Duty and just like the stuff with yearly releases like this. Um, I think as a consumer, it can get to feel less meaningful when an installment just
Yeah.
on a repeat. And uh, I haven't played. I was really excited for Scarlet and Violet, and I right that was the last Pokemon game,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the last one. Yeah, so that came out in 2022.
Yeah.
So, um, so it'd actually be skipping 2 years, right?
Well, they had the DLC for those games this past year.
Oh, the DLC.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Now,
But oh,
I was just gonna say it will be 2 years since the last Pokemon Legends game, which this next Pokemon game is going to be a Pokemon Legends game. So
which was Arceus was the last one, wasn't
yeah,
it?
and I loved Arceus, so I'm really looking forward to them doing this again. So I part of me is hoping like, okay, is this gonna be like, are we looking at like 2.5 years of development time, right? Like that level of like the level of polish that we can hopefully expect from this next game is so much higher. We'll see, right? Because I still don't trust Game Freak that much, but especially after they just pushed out Scarlet and Violet the way they did. But hopefully, Pal World has given them the kick in the pants they need.
Probably.
And
I will say I looked forward a lot to Scarlet and Violet,
yeah,
and I got more into the trading card aspect of it than I did actually the game.
yeah.
So the I played like 3 hours
Oh wow, yeah.
of the game, and that wasn't a slight to it. It's just there was,
There was other
for
stuff at the
example,
time.
that was during the chaos of 2022, like
Yeah.
right in the heart of it.
Yep.
So I had other stuff to play. Um,
Yeah.
am I mixing my years?
I don't know.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, I'm
God
going
of War
crazy.
was about to come out.
Yeah, God of War came out, I think, the same week as Scarlet and Violet, if I'm not mistaken, or it was God of War came out a week prior.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it
Because
was.
yeah, I remember having to work for Pokemon and being like, "Oh yeah, this is the last of the like crazy
giant
launches."
releases because you were at GameStop
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I not to spend too much time on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but I think there's a lot of redeeming qualities that those games have. I just think like it's been time for a while now for the production value to match that of Call of Duty at least, right? Like this is the biggest franchise in the world here, guys. Like what are we doing? So yeah, we can kind of rattle off this next one, these next two, I guess. Just some quick fighting game news. League of Legends is getting a fighting game called 2XKO. And I'm actually really looking forward to this because it's going to be a tag 2v2 fighting game, but it'll also be like one player can play as one character and the other player can play as the other character. So the opportunities for like team games is really fun. And that's something that I would have liked in like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, for instance, but that never really materialized. And then also we're getting an Avatar: The Last Airbender fighting game, which is potentially really cool. It remains to be seen who is really working on it. Or I think we know who's working on it. I can't remember their name, but we'll see what kind of style it is. I think it Avatar really suits itself to like a Tekken style fighting game, I imagine. Either Tekken or Street Fighter, right? I don't think like a Marvel versus
I agree with
Capcom
that.
makes a lot of sense for Avatar. Just stylistically, I don't think that tracks. So we'll see. I mean, franchise is in the middle of a revitalization right now. The Netflix show notwithstanding, we're getting movies next year. We're getting a bigger. No, I think I don't know. Avatar's coming back, and I'm excited about that because that show's awesome. Yeah. Caleb, this next one had you really excited.
So I was watching the Nintendo Direct last week. Well, I think it was last week, wasn't it? No, it was 2 weeks ago.
No, it was
Gosh, my weeks are getting mixed
it was
up.
last week. It was last week.
What is time, right? Because usually I'm so good at that type of stuff, but now I can't. Today it's just it's a day.
Post
As far as me
2020,
remembering.
Post 2020, time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's how I
Anyways,
feel.
I agree. But I'm watching the thing and I'm eating my food and I had it in my hand, like I had my bowl in my hand, and then this trailer popped up and I was like, I about dropped my food.
Wow.
I had to double take. Like I was like, are you kidding me? We're bringing this. I thought this would never happen again. Ever.
Yep.
I thought there was no shot. Star Wars Battlefront, the original games, the original 2, is being remastered and added on top of that, with more, I think, with more maps and more playable characters.
Which is
like, what?
That's nuts.
Right? And I'll go into speculation on that a little bit, but to me, like, I grew up on this game. This is like, this was so fun to me. And you look at the graphics, they look awful. But you know what?
Nah, they got that PS2
It's nostalgic. Charm. They have that charm. Like, this is good PS2 graphics. You know what I'm saying? Like, this.
I would say.
And the gameplay. Gameplay was solid.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I would say. Like, there's the, like. How do I put this? There's a spectrum of PS2 games that's like PS2 graphics that's like Kingdom Hearts 2 and then what's a good example? Like a bad looking PS2 game, like maybe like one of the original Call of Duties. Is that fair? I don't know. I would say
like, you're looking for bad examples?
Yeah, I'm looking for like an example of like a bad looking PS2 game. I don't know. In any case, Star Wars Battlefront 2 holds up better than most PS2 games, I would argue.
Absolutely.
And that game is, I think, that game is probably the most timeless Star Wars game they've ever put out, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody, right, like that game is so playable. It's just so playable.
Right.
And it's so fun. Like, I'm looking forward to playing that game. I'm probably gonna play it with my dad. I might get it for him for his
Yeah, that's the
birthday
thing.
or
It's like
something.
I definitely want to be like. It comes out March 15th. Actually, March 14th. So I understand your pain right now. It ain't going to stop me from my probably month-long Final Fantasy journey, even if I beat the game. You know what I mean? There's the second go around on that type
Well,
of game. You know what I'm saying?
there's you beat the game the second go around and the platinum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I never got the platinum with from the first game, but that I'm I yeah, I'd try it on that one.
I Rebirth is just gonna be so long, but
Yeah.
we'll get to our plans on Rebirth later on.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, but yeah, Battlefront
So
looks great.
yeah, I mean this is a nostalgia trip. I cannot wait until and yeah, I mean this was such a special announcement to me. I don't care how bad that direct was. That they fed me.
They fed both of
They
us.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, because that was the same direct with SMT5, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, and then last thing on our list is a retraction statement from the both of us. Because
Yeah.
turns out Helldivers 2 is actually really good. Neither of us
I
have
was
played
wrong. Yeah, I haven't played it.
it, so we have to talk about something.
What?
I was wrong about Helldivers 2, and I apologize.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was talking
I was
about.
wrong.
In fairness, I don't think anybody was expecting it to be good.
Yeah.
Yuri
I don't think the
Lowenthal.
developers were expecting it to be
Yeah.
that big either.
Yuri Lowenthal apparently plays one of the voices of the player character, and that itself was like, okay, I could kind of see myself playing this game. So yeah, I mean, not much else to say there. I don't know, Caleb, if you have anything else you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's just wrong.
we were wrong. Maybe I'll play it at some point. That was the game I was originally thinking of getting for my dad because he needs something to play. But we'll see. Because Battlefront's cheaper.
That's true.
Battlefront's gonna be like
if you have
$20.
PlayStation Plus. Battlefront is $34.99 on PlayStation right now. If you have PlayStation Plus, it is $31.49. I know this because I am quite literally on that page.
Battlefront Classic Collection.
But yeah, that's the pre-order deal they have on it. They have a 10% off.
Nice.
If you're PlayStation Plus.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to.
Yeah, I think so.
Our main segment of today, our big review portion. This is kind of the first new releases segment of the show, I guess, that we have had. At least I
Yeah,
think.
I think so.
Um, so you know, we're talking about 4 games. 3 of them uh, we have played recently. The fourth one will be kind of tacked onto that third game. You guys know what that game
Mm-hmm.
is. It's Nier. It's Replicant, and we're going to be talking about Automata a little bit. I think mostly from a story
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Just getting it all out there.
Yeah, we're probably gonna go full spoilers on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. No. No. Maybe we'll talk around spoilers for a little bit, but then we'll just go dead on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, but start us off. I have 2 games that I have played, both of which I've put a combined total of somewhere in the ballpark of 140 hours in both of these games. So I've played a lot of JRPGs. Uh, the first one I want to talk about is Persona 3 Reload. Now, I have been a huge proponent of this project. Uh, I've always thought Persona 3 needed a remake the most out of any old Persona game. And I still think I was right. And I still really liked Reload. And I think that's the if you take anything away from what I'm about to say, take away that I still really liked it and I still think you should play it. That said, when I was playing it, I got the sense that it wasn't for me the way I wanted it to be. And what I mean by that is I wanted it to I think part of me wanted it to like reignite my love for Persona 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I still love Persona 3, but I love it just as much as I did before I played Reload. Right? Reload didn't really like change anything about how I feel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is it the best Persona game? I think that's a lot more debatable now. I think I would have said easily 5. Now I think it's between 5 and 3 Reload.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. That's interesting. Like,
yeah. Well, I
because
mostly
I just know how much you love 5. That's
yeah. 1 and 3 Reload, the stuff that it like cleans up about the original is stuff that the original it was like it was stuff that like really holds me back from like recommending the original Persona 3, whereas 3
mm-hmm.
Reload is like it's a very clean game. It's very cleanly done. So yeah, there I don't have a lot more to say about Reload. I still loved it. I still almost cried at the end. It's that I mean, my major thing is I think Persona 3 as a story is so important that I recommend anybody play through it or even watch the movies once at least just to understand it. But I will say it's not like if you've played the original Persona 3 or you've already consumed it, Reload is not like a must play
Mm-hmm.
necessarily unless you're like a huge Persona fan. Um like it's definitely in that like maybe wait for a sale tier of JRPG just because it's like
Gotcha.
it's if you've already played it, it's not gonna like offer a whole lot new stuff to you. Um, but like that said, it's still an Atlas RPG. They have a hard time going wrong in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
and that's mostly just, I think, the way that they go about things just appeals to me, really. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts on Reload. Great game. Not my game of the year, probably. Um, and that's fine because I have a lot of other game of the year contenders to worry about. The next game, a game I've put actually more time into, which is surprising because the campaign is a lot shorter. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which I think came out of left field for a lot of people. Caleb, I don't know if you feel this way, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was not on my radar until you put it on my radar.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
Well, and I've been paying attention to this game for like 6 years, more than that, 8 years.
Oh, wow.
It's this game has been in development for a really long time. And I could go into the whole history I have with Cygames and their franchises, but suffice to say, I've been following their franchises for a while. I haven't been like a super big fan, but I've done stuff like I watched the first season of the Grand Blue Fantasy anime. I play the card game that they have. I've watched some of their stuff, like, all sorts of things. So I've been looking forward to this game, and it finally comes out, and I loved it. It is a tight 20-hour campaign, super accessible. It is an action RPG with 20 playable characters, all of which have a different style to them. I'm not going to say that it's like they're all like, Dante tier characters, right? Because that it's not that deep, but they're all unique enough, at least. It's got an action combat system that feels like it combines like Tales of and Xenoblade in some way, to the point that like one of the Xenoblade creators that I follow and now is making character guides like he has done for Xenoblade character guides. So like it's a really deep combat system. It's definitely not like, I would say like if you're gonna put them on the like I would say it edges a little closer to like FF7 Remake than Kingdom Hearts in the action RPG
Gotcha.
sphere, just because it's definitely more focused on the numbers game than it is on the like skill gameplay. Not that there's no skill, but there's definitely a numbers game element to it that Kingdom Hearts just doesn't have. So yeah, I think, is the narrative revolutionary? No. Does it get the job done? Absolutely. Does it have stuff that feels specifically channeled to like get me to like it? Yes. I think for the money, because there's the main campaign is part of it, but then the end game grind is so engaging that I kind of haven't been able to pull myself away. Even if I get kind of bored of it, I still like want to play that game. And there are more characters coming out. There are more raids coming out. It's like arguably one of the most high quality JRPGs released in a long time. At least from a like content to fun gameplay standpoint, right? Because so many RPGs have so much content, but the gameplay starts to get stale after a while. It's like, well, if it's starting to get stale, maybe switch over to a different character, right? There are 20 characters.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I really loved Relink. I'm really excited that it has sold well, because it means we'll get more support for it, and Cygames will hopefully make either a future Grand Blue sequel or make, you know, do whatever the heck they're gonna do. Um, Hopefully this spurs other gotcha game creators to make more full priced RPGs, like this, because clearly they have to see that there's money in it. So yeah, Caleb, I don't know. Do you have any? Did you play the demo? I never asked you about that.
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet. I committed fully to Nier and
That's
dropped
no, that's
everything else.
no, that's fair. That's fair. I want to. I recommended the demo to you because I was like, this
Yeah.
does seem it's got enough of that like Final Fantasy energy to be appealing to you. I think it's not the same, but it's like I think Uematsu composes some of the score at least.
Gotcha.
So like
Oh.
you've got some of those trappings at least. So I think you would enjoy it at least. But it's another. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be on my game of the year list, but I'm not sure it'll like take that top spot. But that might be a competition thing more than a. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely on my radar now, and it's definitely something that I'm definitely going to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this year, it's a good year
It's a good.
as far as
Yeah.
to start trying some different games and everything. Like
Well, will I
Oh,
tell
what
you
were you gonna
to?
say?
I was just gonna say, will I tell you to play this game over Xenoblade? Probably not.
Right.
Would I tell you to play this game over Sonic Frontiers? Sure.
Interesting. Okay.
Sure.
That tells me the
I can,
scale of
I
this
can,
game,
I can
right?
give you, I can give you like the spectrum, right? Because
Yeah.
I really think you should play Xenoblade. Sonic Frontiers, I kind of just want you to play.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I knew exactly what you were saying, but I was like, yeah. I wonder, like, I don't know if the audience knows that scale
Yeah.
as much as
Yeah, no,
I know that
they
scale.
definitely have no idea what that scale means, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. I think, well, and Grand Blue is like again, it's such a tight campaign that like even if you just if you just play the campaign and leave, I still think it's great. It's a great campaign, right? So like I don't think,
Yeah.
and I've put, oh man, I can look right now. Actually, I have put 97.8 hours into this game. So it has become like a second main game for me, in a way that most games don't become that. So yeah, I've played a lot of this game. I really like Relink. I think if you like action RPGs, you will probably like this game. If only because there are so many playable characters, you've got to like at least one of them. So,
Yeah. I can see that.
yeah. With that, it's time for the main event.
Oh yeah.
So, Caleb, I want to know, what did you think of Nier Replicant?
Oh. I really enjoyed my time with Nier Replicant. You know, it I enjoyed it. Is it like, and I'll talk about what's good and what's bad about it, its strengths and weaknesses of it
Yeah.
in a second, but like as far as I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was really good to finally learn a little bit more about the lore of this world.
Sure.
Um, is it as good as Automata? I I I wouldn't say so, but I think that, and I'll go into the reasons why like Automata is a superior game to this, but um, if I go at it in the perspective that this is the first game, this is a great first game.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, this is the best example I can think of. Like, this is like literally playing. You played Kingdom Hearts 2 first, and then went to Kingdom Hearts 1. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I
you
definitely
know,
agree with that statement.
so it is like the exact equivalent of it. Like, it's still great. It's absolutely great. But I suffer from that aspect of, oh, the sequel does so many more improvements on um,
Yeah.
even down to its story themes. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Um, whereas I feel like some of the story themes were a little bit more simplistic in this game. But that's that's something I'll dive in a little bit more on later. I did really enjoy my time. Um, I will say this game took a lot longer than expected.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely
um,
more repetitive than
yeah,
I was expecting when I played it too.
exactly. Like, that is one of its, like I was saying with like the storytelling, like that is one of its weaknesses. I think a little bit,
Yeah.
um, especially saying the payoff. You didn't get really much of a payoff until you were like going through your third run of repetition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Well, and even
I think that
then
goes
the
into,
like payoff to the payoff doesn't happen until after potentially the fourth time you've run through that game.
yeah.
So,
And then also on top of that, there's the actual payoff that was a part of the remake version and not a part of the original version.
yeah.
Yeah. I did my homework in the past 12 hours.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I was wondering if you
I
knew
might
that or
not
not.
I might not have done my uh I might not have had time to learn about the EA layoffs, but I was doing some near type stuff, but
That's good.
like looking at, you know, what the ending significant, like what
Yeah.
went into the remake version. And so uh you know side missions, I think one thing that I've liked about Nier, both games, is the side missions are 100% textbook side missions, but they're fun. Like
Yeah.
I like doing the side missions. It's immersive, and you know they could be textbook, but they also lead to more character depth than I think that you would expect in a lot of
Yeah.
them. I I think that this game. So I should mention the pacing on this game is quite
Weird.
interesting because you have your main story, right?
Yeah.
And I got fooled into thinking that I was on the second section of this game when I was not.
I was
uh,
trying not to like spoil things for you, but I was like, oh, he doesn't know, does he?
no, because I was like, well, maybe it's not exactly ending, like specifically like Automata, where it's like, yeah, the credits roll and everything, but maybe it's just separated by sections in the story. And like, and the reason why I thought that was because I was 30 hours into the game at that point. I was like, I hadn't completed ending A, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, you told me that, and I was like, oh no, he's never gonna finish this game.
yeah,
Because I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
you're 30 hours in. When I was 30 hours into that game, I was like midway through playthrough C, probably, right?
yeah.
Like,
But part of that was I literally did every side mission in the game but
yeah,
two of them.
Yeah.
One of them I completely missed, and that like made me into a panic of like, oh no, did I just mess up my run? And then the other one was literally you get so with this side mission's exclusive to Story C.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't get it until the end of it. So you get it right before you're going to go up to the Lost Shrine for the last time,
I see.
and they want you to grab like I think it was called the Eye of Power, which I'm sure is probably
Huh.
a pretty cool side mission.
Sure.
Um, and I went all the way up to there. I got it, but I was like, I don't. At this point, I'm like, I'm on a timeline. I gotta beat this before our next podcast. So I was like, I'm like, I'm not going to go all the way back down and then all the way back up again after the amount of times it's been repeated already in this game of going up this shrine. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
at that point I was like, okay, I already know I got all the weapons, I got all this stuff. I'm gonna skip this one, you know. But other than that, I did all the rest of them, and so that was a part of that 30 hours. Like I
Yeah.
literally
Oh, yeah.
just spent all my time like being in there, and I really enjoyed it. As far as characters go, I think I really enjoyed every character in this. I mean,
I don't think there's a weak
I knew
character in the first
no,
Nier.
no, I agree with that, and I knew Devila and Popola would be showing up from because of Automata and everything, and I knew that twist was not going to catch me off guard. Like I knew that was coming a mile away because
Yeah.
of me playing. So that is the only like real like downside of like
Did
playing the
you
second one before the first one.
did you know they were gonna be spoilers? This is
Oh yeah.
mild. This is as mild spoilers as you get with this game. Did you know they were gonna be evil?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Because I remember.
Quote unquote evil, I guess I should say.
Yeah,
It's not exactly clear who's good and bad in this game.
I remember reading lore
Okay.
in Automata. There's like
Oh,
that
okay.
lore section, and
The
I
yeah,
believe
yeah,
they got pulled up, and I knew that was recapping the events of this game, but
yeah. Okay.
I can't see. That's my excitement of playing. What's great about going from the second one to the first, and potentially back to the second one very soon, would be like the new added perspective of stuff that I just
Yeah.
missed
Oh
and
yeah, for
everything.
sure.
So that is something that I really enjoyed of my playthrough of it, and
Yeah.
you know, I thought the combat was good. It's a lot to take in, right? Because I've only been like less than 24 hours from beating this game,
Yeah.
and like legitimately beating this game, so there's a lot of stuff that I'm taking in. Um and there's a lot of stuff that I'm still taking in of the second one because it's so complex, these
Yeah.
worlds, right? And I think um so my mind's a little jumbled, so I'm kind of going all over the place a little bit with it. But the game itself was, I thought it did a great job with adding that perspective of where it all started, where it all began. I know there's the Drakengard games that are
The
connected,
the
but this is really
Drakengard
where it
community
started.
is yeah. Well, and this is the game that turned Yoko Taro into like a name, I think.
Yeah,
Even though it wouldn't be until Automata that it reached that like mainstream success. I think it is the first like, oh yeah, there's this Yoko Taro guy. He's made X, Y, and Z, and Z was actually kind of a cult classic. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Well, I think honestly, the big thing that I felt was lacking in this game, and it's only because Automata did it so well, and I think this game helped unlock Yoko Taro to actually do that with this next one,
yeah,
because you see him dabble in it in this game, but you don't really take it in as much as you would in Automata. Is the philosophical debate
yeah,
aspect like that? I mean, that is
yeah,
one of the main themes of Automata, is the of what actually makes you human. Like, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? That is the heart of that game. And, this is meant to be more of a. I guess that is the other reveal that would have been spoiled. You know what I mean? I knew that
Yeah.
coming a mile away because, I just knew that I played the second one.
You played the
But
second one, you knew humanity had gone extinct. That's what you mean.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that they were androids. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But uh, I really enjoyed the characters. I thought, especially the main three, like I thought the player, Kaine and Emil, all had interesting perspectives and all had their own form of fresh energy.
Yeah.
Um, they You could understand every motivation that they were trying to do. Like, you could understand their motivation and what their actions cost because of it. Like, it
Yeah.
I guess that is like the real, like, deep philosophical portion of this game, whereas you go on, you understand that, like, oh, maybe the stuff that they're doing might not be like the best thing, but it's also, you understand why they're all doing it.
Yeah. It's I mean, not to get too heavy, but this game was born out of Yoko Taro thinking about 9/11 and him being like he came
Really?
to the yeah, he it's a really famous quote, or not really famous, but it's probably one of his most famous quotes, where he says something to the effect of, I used to think that you had to be insane to kill a lot of people, but I look at 9/11 and I don't think that anymore. I think it's you don't have to be insane, you just have to think you're right. um, and that's, I mean, if that's not the first near to a T, right? If that's not the
Mm,
exact core message of that game, that you are, and I think it's what makes it so important, at least to me now, right? Like
mm,
the current state of the world is such that like literally everyone thinks they're right.
mm,
And we have seen the results born of that. And I think, yeah, I think you're right. Like where Automata is more about like, I would say like Automata is more about like what do we do without a higher power kind of thing.
mm,
Like it's a very Automata is very like positive nihilistic
mm,
kind of thing, where it's like God is dead and therefore we should create our own meaning kind of thing.
mm,
Whereas this game is very much like the core message is like, think about your perspective
mm.
and whether and where it's coming from, because if you had the whole truth, maybe you would think differently about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, um, like yeah, I thought this game was, I mean, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Would I recommend one or the other? I would probably still recommend you do an Automata first,
Yeah.
even though that's setting a high bar. I think that gets you more intrigued in this world.
Yeah.
Than like I'm trying to think of an outsider perspective of like, would I be more attentive to the lore aspect of things if I started with Replicant versus Automata? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to think of engagement of like as far as like recommending. I would recommend, like I think that would be the best way. Um, and overall, do, I think this game has a little bit of pacing issues as far as just
Yeah.
like we talked about its clarity and repetition. Um, but the environment, the design, and you know the character, the character arcs and all that is just really, really top notch. And
Yeah.
um, the combat feels good. I mean, the combat is exactly like Automata is, just a little different, but it is very
Yeah.
similar in that regard. Um, so I have no real complaints about that. Um, Traversal, I will say, is much better in this game than it is in Automata. Maybe
Really?
I didn't quite. I think so.
I
I
think you
think
should replay Automata.
maybe I should replay Automata, but I liked the idea of uh, different forms of like you could literally be on the boar and just speed across the map and everything,
You
or
can do that in
you know
Automata.
you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Just they don't really advertise it to you, but you can do that.
Maybe I never discovered that. See, these are things that I'm excited for my second
Yeah.
playthrough. The
I
and
was
then
I was
there's
gonna I was gonna say
there
actually
was
traversal is one of my least favorite parts of the first game.
really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I found myself so many times running across the same fields spamming dash
Oh yeah.
attacks. And I was
Oh
like,
okay,
I
okay.
got so tired of just spamming dash attacks over and over. Because with Automata, um, it's the world isn't as like wide open as often. It's a
Yeah.
lot more like semi platformy, or you're like dashing
Hmm.
around stuff. Whereas with Replicant, it's like here's a giant field, or here's a hallway, or and it doesn't necessarily take away from Replicant, but I'm much more interested in like what's the best route around this space in
Yeah.
Automata, because Automata's dash is a lot more
It's
versatile.
a lot less. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Um,
was the one thing I did notice. The dash was a little different.
yeah. So I'm interested to see like what you would say on a second playthrough of Automata, like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
again, I find that very surprising that you preferred it in Replicant.
I mean now I'm doubting my own memory, which I mean it's been how many years since I played
Oh, it
Automata?
might be 4, might be coming up on 4. I don't remember, but
I played it just shortly after remake, so yeah, it would be like 3.5 years
yeah.
because I played it in January. So January, the next January. So like
Oh,
Final
okay, yeah.
Fantasy VII came out in March, so it would be the next January. So
Yeah,
like
probably.
three years and a quarter,
Yeah, three and a
pretty
quarter
much.
years. Yeah. So it has been a little while since you've played it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Um.
it's been a little while, but that was actually really nice to get. They have a little bit of a foggy memory because then it did make things interesting. Of like, oh, I wonder where this is going to go, and even though I
Yeah.
might have already had the answer to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, and I would echo, like, I think Automata is a much easier sell because
Mhm.
with Replicant, and I think we can mark this as the full spoilers territory.
Yeah.
Um, with Replicant, you end up playing the same game 3 times, essentially.
Yes.
Uh, with Automata, you play one playthrough
It's a different
as,
story each time. Yeah.
well, sort of. You play one playthrough as
Yeah.
2B. You play what is essentially the same events but told from 9S's
9S's
perspective,
perspective.
and
Yeah.
then you get a completely new campaign at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the perfect way to do it, because
Yeah.
Route B in Replicant is basically the same thing as Route B in Automata. It's
And
just
that's where, yeah, that is quite literally where this game suffers the most from,
yeah,
because it like the idea of Route B, at least even the way it's like presented, is like this is going to be Kaine's perspective, sort of like how 9S is um in
yeah, in
in
Automata.
Automata. So the like without having, like, you don't get, not that she has to be playable, but like you don't get much extended stuff besides an opening scene with her and then a few additional cutscenes from one other than that. Other than that, the story is 1-to-1, and then you get Emil's perspective also in that
Yeah.
route.
When you
But
get you basically get translations of what the shades are saying too, and like a little bit
yes.
more backstory on them, um, which is all it's all great material, right? But it's I think you're right, from like a game perspective, it's kind of hard to like sell it to somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
not already invested. With Automata, it's like you open the game, you get a fight with a giant robot and you steal its
Mm-hmm.
arm, and it's like I mean, I was screaming when I played the demo for Automata. I was screaming like, I love video games, because it was just so like it was peak video games.
Yeah.
Um and so like it's a very different kind of sell with these two games, and I think it's a lot easier to say, like, if you like Automata, you will like Replicant, maybe not as much, but you will still like it. Whereas, it's hard to say like Replicant's really good and Automata's better. Because I will agree, like, I think Replicant, especially the third time around, for me, it was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I can't do this again, because I was really thinking, like, am I going to do another playthrough so I can get both C and D, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I do not see how that could possibly be worth it, and I was really glad I didn't.
And that's the thing, like each story route, like each additional story route, you don't um you don't get a reward until the end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and and that to me just seems like we're looking for I guess that is quite literally endings, but that to me it's just like we're not like the story's done, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it keeps making me feel like the story's done until you get to ending D, and you get that secret boss, and that's when you get the actual true ending to the game. Um,
Yep.
and that would have been great and all, but imagine just, and I know it cuts out a whole lot of time, but like we were talking about, it's filler anyways. But if you put ending D with ending B,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It would probably hit
you build up,
similarly as hard.
yeah, you build up Kaine's perspective, and then you make that the alternate ending. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's much more of a punch, and then you're faced with the decision to get rid of all your stuff, and then
Yeah.
and then you think you're done, and then you go back to play it, and you get this whole added story
Yeah.
to it, and that was cool. That was good.
That was easily my favorite part of the game, I think. Actually.
Absolutely. I mean, at that part, I was very much like, finally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was like exactly what I was hoping for the other endings of these games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the other stories, and like the transition from that point of like, this is Replicant, but now we're going into Automata.
So good.
I thought that was really well executed.
Yeah.
Like, you could start to see like the shades turning into, at least this is my perspective. I don't know if this is quite literally what's going on. This is getting into my understanding of lore.
Yeah.
It looks like the shades were evolving into machine, like they found a way to.
That would be. And I would say chronologically inaccurate, because
really?
the aliens invade like thousands of years after the events of Replicant.
Okay, so that's not it.
Yeah, it's what so ending E of Near Replicant is actually based on pre-existing material, where Yoko Taro kind of wrote. This was Yoko Taro. He wrote in one of those like Ultimania style books. He wrote
Gotcha.
what is basically the events of ending E, but Automata hadn't come out yet, so like a lot of those like visual concepts weren't there. So the interpretation that I have of ending E is that those two kids are effectively the blueprint for basically the entirety of what happens in Automata, because if you know the lore, number 9 and number 2 are so like integral to what goes on in that game, even though like 2B and 9S don't know who those people are. So to me it was more like they were nodding to the idea that they were sort of tying them together and saying like the memory tree is where all of this kind of comes from.
Gotcha.
So, and Reincarnation, which is the mobile game, I'm sure has some of that lore element stuff, but neither of us know a whole lot about that.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. I'm excited to. I'll probably get to. Is Reincarnation before or after Automata in chronological?
I don't know if we know that. I don't know if that's a known thing.
Okay. Well, I think that I will at least like play Automata and then probably go into Replicant. Not Replicant. Reincarnation.
Okay.
But the like just not actually play it. I mean, you can't play it anymore. But like try to look into the lore of it.
Yeah.
But I will say, I guess we're at that point in the podcast. It is time for our segment. That's right. We are in Trailer Watch.
Surprise trailer watch.
Yeah, surprise trailer watch. Yoko Taro. He
is out here.
Yeah. It's not a big trailer watch. It's like 10%.
Yeah, it's random. It's random trailer on a Tuesday percent. This is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I kind of like, whether or not I think Automata was too big to be left alone.
Oh yeah.
I do think that, and I think we're going to get another installment. Hold on one second.
Listen, if all I have to say is if Yoko Taro's been cooking for 7 years, it better be good.
That's what I'm saying. I like the what he's been teasing with the word like repent. I thought that would be a really cool title.
Near repent, that would be nuts.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't that a cool title?
That's such a cool name for a Nier game.
That sets a high bar. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that's what he's teasing.
Okay, I didn't see that, but yeah, that would be kind of cool. I guess I don't know. I just want Yoko Taro to make another game. Is mostly my thing.
Yeah, I think he randomly went on Twitter and put the words repent.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know.
I think that's how it was.
I don't know. Yoko Taro gets tapped to do so much random stuff at this point. Like, who knows what the man is up to. But I would be really excited to if it's a platinum game, if it's a platinum game and platinum is like back for the next Nier game, that would be my ideal world. Because just a few podcasts ago, we were talking about platinum games not looking so hot. If they're back, they're back.
Yeah.
So
back and kind of getting back to a little bit of Replicant, but I just wanted to make that. I've been waiting on that one since a day ago, so I'm like, I'm gonna do this in the middle of the review and catch you off guard. But seriously though, I think that would be really cool.
That would be cool.
But it might lead to eventual disappointment of the real title, whatever it is, and I'll be like, oh, it's not Repent. You know what I'm saying?
So
like, it might still be a cool title.
The only better title is Nier Revengeance.
True.
That's the only best case scenario. Otherwise, it's all downhill from Repent. Nier. I'll settle for Nier Repentance.
That would be good too.
That would also be pretty good. But yeah.
But I really enjoyed the game. There's a lot to tackle into. Oh, one other thing that I will, since we're kind of going into lore stuff now.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay, answer.
Because I don't quite understand. Like, I understand their importance in the story of like what they were. As far as the events of the story that went down. I guess, and we might not have an answer to this. This could be just all in Yoko Taro's mind, and we don't know it. I guess my question is, I know we know the creation of the Gestalts and, everything with that, but the question is, the one aspect I don't understand, and maybe I'm thinking too much into it because, again, it's Yoko Taro, is I don't understand the creation of the books. Like the creation aspect, other than I know what their use in the story is, and I know what their importance is in the story, but I don't know.
Do you mean you don't know how they were made?
Yeah.
I can link you to a video that is like the whole timeline of Drakengard and Nier.
Oh, so that is, okay. So that is a part of that video.
It is a part of
Then.
that video, but it's not. It's hard to explain. It effective. It's child soldier experimentation. I guess is like the they
Yeah.
Vice and Noir are
Noir.
yeah they're both child soldiers effectively.
Gotcha.
Not literally, but that's kind of the like it's one of those things that like Nier operates on the logic that like the worst things you that are in the story are the things that don't appear in the games because it's not allowed to. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of like really dark stuff in Nier's lore, um, but that is the lore does go into that a little bit. It's I think it's a little like vague about it, but it's like this is what happens. So yeah, the books are kind of what's funny is the books are kind of my favorite parts because they're just like these talking guys who just kind of float around. um, and like that one scene where they're just in the white space and they're just like talking to each other, but the camera is doing like the most work ever to try to make it seem interesting. It's so funny. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. I think, just to inject my opinions, I think like if I had to put a word to the first Nier, it's personality, right? It just has so much like energy about it where like Automata feels like it's really dour and like stylistic, right? Like it's almost like the difference between like The Dark Knight and Inception, right? Like where Inception is like a really slick, clean movie that gets everything right, and The Dark Knight is like it's dark and gritty, and it might not be as clean as Inception, but like it has a lot of like very specific energy to it. And I think there's a lot of stuff to like about Replicant. It's just the flaws are a little bit too high for me to like put it above anything else. But there's stuff to like I think thematically the narrative is like as poignant as any narrative has ever been, actually. Right, like I would even say from a thematic standpoint, Replicant kind of wins out for me. It's mostly just like the rest of the narrative for Automata kind of beats it out. But yeah, it's still one of the best game stories ever told. And if that's what you want, like I don't know what else to tell you. You should play it.
Yeah.
So
they're really deep.
Yeah, really deep games.
They're really good.
Yeah, and if you want to like dig into lore, like these are great worlds to dig into that stuff on.
And honestly, these games they go by quick. Like I know I said like I got lost in this world. I did get lost in this world. And for a completionist playthrough, I mean, I was probably like a hair under completionist playthrough. Like I said, I just missed 2 side missions. Other than that, I pretty much like in just my first go. Let me see what we're at. Okay. In just my first go, I got 55% of the trophies, right? Which isn't much, actually, when you think about it. But but I also played. I got all the I got all the weapons, and I did most of all the side missions, and I played over 50 hours, like
Yeah.
52 hours to get that done. Like it's
And you could
to get
easily
a
shave
complete
off 20
playthrough.
hours of that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so I mean, it's a normal paced game. It's really well paced in that regard.
Yeah.
Story wise, it's got its pacing issues, but as far as time you're going to spend on this game, it's well paced. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say on it. Overall, I would give this game I give it a B plus.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
I think I would give
So
it the same thing.
I would give it about an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
8.75, somewhere around there. Um, it's got its weaknesses, but you know, I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the game, and I think it would be hard to be disappointed in the
Yeah.
game. You know what I'm saying? If you're going into a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, yeah, that was Nier. We'll probably be talking a little bit more about Nier as the weeks go on and on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Uh,
I'll be looking into some more lore stuff now that I
yeah.
can be free from spoilers and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad to be able to talk to you about how much like Kingdom Hearts this game finally is.
Yeah, I mean that quite literally. I was thinking, I'm like, as much as I would love to place it during Automata, like if they ever did a crossover, I'm like, this fits more.
Yeah.
Like as far
Yeah.
as like
There's
like enemies.
There's literal like heartless nobody energy going on.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And
Yeah. So, let's move on to our final segment. And this is something that Caleb I warned Caleb a little bit about this, but he doesn't know what's happening.
So I pulled a surprise segment, and you pulled a surprise.
I pulled a surprise segment, but it's not what you think.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I have played the original Final Fantasy VII. And remake, and I have seen Advent Children. So I know the important stuff, you might say. Caleb has not played the original Final Fantasy VII, has not seen Advent Children. I've thought multiple times.
I almost caved on that. I almost caved.
I'm glad you didn't.
Released it in theaters last week.
I'm glad you didn't, and I would have told you not. I would have told you to walk out of the theater, because that movie will spoil you.
And that's the thing. I knew that, but I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool to go see that?
I almost wanted to go see it in theaters, but Caleb has not played the original, only played remake, hasn't seen Advent Children, doesn't know anything. I'm actually quite surprised and proud to know that Caleb has literally no idea what's going to happen. So, Caleb, it is time for you to give me your predictions on what is going to happen in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
What is going to happen? Well, I'll tell you what. I think... So I like the idea of the multiple timeline aspect that they're trying to play at. So I think my big prediction is that I think we're going to get, and I don't know where this is specifically ending, if they've come out and said it. I don't want to know, but I think my prediction would be that the timeline breaks at the end of this. I
You
think what
think they
what we
break the
get,
timeline?
yeah, I think they break the timeline. I think we get all the way to what was the end of the original Final Fantasy.
Really, you think they're going all
To
the way to the end?
I think so, and um, I think the next part will be this broken timeline. So I think that maybe it's not necessarily the end, but I think what what audiences know from the original will not be valid after this game.
Interesting.
I think that's my wild prediction.
Interesting.
Like I think that's my deep like. I think that would be like I'm just thinking as a if you're retelling a story in this regard,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a fun way to entice fans of like, oh, we're getting something unexpected. So I don't know, but I think as far as like people dying and not dying, a lot of people came out of remake unscathed. A lot of fate changed on that. You know what I mean? I think that was the start of the teasing of like the breaking of timelines.
We
Like some
actually got, you know, we actually got like more people coming out alive than had previously.
right, then we got yeah. And we had a couple fake outs in that game. Like Barrett almost like I thought Barrett was done. My first playthrough, I was like, oh my god, they killed Barrett. I was shocked.
That would be so
And
sad.
right, and I obviously he did die. I think pretty much the whole Avalanche crew survived. Oh, Jesse's up in the air. Jesse's the one that like supposedly died. Oh, that'd be interesting. I wonder if Jesse comes back in this one.
I think I think it's implied that she survived, but I don't remember. I don't remember. And
Well,
I don't
I think
remember.
it's
I don't
kind of
remember
weird.
everything that happens in 7R.
Like Wedge and
Biggs.
Biggs, thank you, both survive from the big incident,
Yeah.
the sector collapsing. But Jesse's like, it's very clear that like she like went had the worst of it as far
Yeah.
as like did they die or not. So I think it's possible it could go either way. Um, I do think. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be heartbroken either way. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if I I don't know if they'll kill anybody off in this one, but if they do, I won't. I I'll be pretty. I'll be pretty upset.
Okay.
And not a bad way. You know what I mean? Like I'll be like really like sad. Like I have such an attachment to these characters that like
Anybody dying would be sad.
I'm in for heartbreak. Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, I'm so glad that I had Nier to distract me these like this past 2 months, like because it has helped my anticipation for FF7 to be kind of like I know it's coming, but it's not like on my mind right now. Until today, like it's been on my
Okay.
mind, and I've been like really
Yeah.
excited about it, but like it's hitting me today of like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be back in this world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's going to be such an immersive journey that I just you know what's kind of wild? I know that this is going to go into a more open world aspect. I really hope they take the strengths of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. Me too.
of just random stuff that you could do. Like, I just want this game to just
Yeah.
take me as long as it can. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
I agree. I wanna.
and
I'm committing to trying to 100% my first playthrough.
yeah, I think it's like I know I want to get it done in fear of spoilers,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I want to take my time. Like I think this game is just now. Granted, take my time as in I'm going to be playing a long amount of hours into this
Yeah.
game. But
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I want to specify that.
I have
You know,
warned my
not take my
family
time and
multiple times, like, you're not gonna see me this weekend.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be several. Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful journey, and I can't wait. And
Yeah.
um, it the uh yeah, I mean, gosh, I can't wait. Like
I
this is
can't
it.
wait.
I can't wait.
I, I
You
I'm
know,
I'm literally chomping at the bit.
it sucks that I have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I was telling Ezra this before the podcast, because otherwise I'd be playing it at midnight.
Yeah.
Like, and that's I did that on purpose. Like, I didn't get like a digital um version of the game because also I went with the physical deluxe edition,
Oh, nice.
so I wanted the steelbook. So like there was a collector's incentive
Yeah.
in me to do that, but uh the the reason why I didn't do digital, unlike the last time when I did do it, uh, was because I just couldn't get off work. And
Ah.
yeah, I could stay up, play it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, this is what I was talking about. Like, I want to get lost in this world.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to like play for 2 hours and then go to bed. Like that won't work. I won't
Do you
sleep.
have do you have Friday off?
No,
No. Do you
no.
have any time
And
off?
I have Monday off.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So I took Monday off. I tried to get the weekend off, but I couldn't do that. But my hours are getting a little shifted around anyways, so I'm actually going to be able to play a little bit more, which
That's good.
is awesome. Um and yeah, it's going to be really fun to get off work tomorrow and be like, here we go.
It's
Like, I'm
time.
going to be like on my trip to go pick this up. It's going to be like, I don't know if I'll be tearing up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah.
finally here. And I'll
Yeah.
probably have that feeling when KH4 comes out. I did
Oh,
have it.
yeah.
I did have that feeling with KH3. Like, I absolutely did. Like, when I when I picked up KH3, I literally, when I held that cover in my hand, I had such a moment of like, wow, this. I remember picking up the original and being so like entranced by its by the cover and intrigued, and like when I got to pick up three's cover, I'm like, finally, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was just kind of like a finally type moment,
That moment.
and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to have that with FF7R tomorrow, and then also with KH4, but
Yeah.
specifically with FF7R. I mean, last time I played that game, like last time when the first part came out, it was during COVID, and I had to I had a lot of freedom in my schedule. um,
Yeah.
uh, obviously it was a bad time and everything, but I do remember this game, and like that game could have came out at a better time for me.
Yeah.
Like it was just the perfect game at the right time. And you know, I feel like every gamer has that moment with a certain game, and that like FF7R is one of those games to me. And like to be able to go back tomorrow, it's just awesome. Like
Yeah.
that that's all I really have as far as predictions and stuff. I'm just excited. You know,
Yeah.
give me the journey.
I'm like, I'm really glad I managed to stave off like my hype for this game as long as I did. Cuz I'm like I really am. I'm like, I need this game as soon as I can possibly get my hands on it. So, and it sucks because the GameStop I pre-ordered it at doesn't open until like noon tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I have to wait. But yeah, I'll survive. But I definitely, it is one of those like,
It's the preload time that concerns me. Like
oh yeah,
that aspect. Like I'm going to have to load up Nier when that goes on, like when that's downloading, just so I have a distraction.
yeah,
Like if I'm staring at that download screen, I'm gonna be a wreck.
yeah. No,
I'm gonna be
it's not
chomping
gonna be
at the bit.
good. Yeah, yeah, man. Well, I think that concludes this podcast.
Yeah.
It'll probably be another, I don't know, 3 weeks, month, something like that, until
Yeah.
we're back with our Seven Rebirth podcast.
And I would imagine it will go similar to how the Spider-Man podcast we had.
Yes.
That one's probably going to be a whole episode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
There's a very good chance. And yeah, I will definitely have a review out as soon as I can, but I don't know when that will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Caleb, I don't know if you've seen, but the review scores have been pretty
I've
unanimous.
seen it.
So, yeah.
And it's not helping the hype.
Yeah,
it's just making it worse.
It's making it so much worse. So,
yeah.
Yeah, with that, we'll sign off so we can go to bed and make the time go faster.
Get some rest.
Yes.
Get ready for the journey ahead.
Indeed. So, Caleb, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we end the show?
Sorry, I was just thinking about FF7. No, I think this was a pretty good podcast. I really enjoyed getting to talk about Nier, and
Yeah.
like it was a great way to close that chapter because it was a really fun journey, and I've been like building up my opinions, trying not to say it and everything to Ezra as I went on. So it's nice to talk about it, and yeah.
Yeah,
I can't wait until you all hear what I think about Final Fantasy.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I'm sorry. I liked that. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye.